We've hit the midpoint of the season, with Lucy finally getting married off and Bobby giving up control of Ewing Oil. Sue Ellen planted the seeds for her third extramarital affair in as many years, and JR started one with demigoddess Afton Cooper. But it's not all wine and roses. Bobby's marriage is on the skids, and Pamela is being wooed by a lascivious magazine guru. Looks like things are about to get interesting.
Leslie Stewart, my brother J.R. Ewing.
Oh, never mind. Bobby, Jock, and JR are hashing out the finer details of JR taking over Ewing Oil again. Bobby wants control of Ewing 23, securing money for Cliff Barnes. He also wants a cut of the refineries and control of the newly created alternative energy division. Thankfully, someone brought up the fact that we can't subsist on oil forever. And although nothing major comes of it for the rest of the show's run, this tiny throwaway line would eventually lead to the creation of Ewing Energies in the sequel series. All of this is over JR's objection, but Jock rules the roost, so the deal is approved. At the ranch, Mitch and Lucy are packing for their move to the condo. Apparently they had quite the honeymoon on South Padre Island. Mitch didn't even get any studying done. Bobby runs into an old friend and meets Susan Flannery's Leslie Stewart, the public relations manager from New York City.
New York City!
Stewart offers to drum up some publicity for Ewing Alternative Energies if Bobby is interested. I'll just put all the cards on the table now. Susan Flannery is great. Love the Towering Inferno. Gotta say, though, that Leslie Stewart is a bit of a drip. A slow, torturous drip of tedium. At another lunch venue, we have a Jerry Hardin sighting, because of course we do. It's a television show. Jerry Hardin is like Waldo. If you're watching it, he's in there somewhere. Anyway, JR wants to make a deal with his character Ellroy Askew, even though Ewing Oil is supposed to be back in good with the original cartel.
Aren't they gonna be a little bit miffed if you join a new cartel?
Nice to know that JR's infidelity is not just limited to his marriage, but also to his business relationships. And then he actually does run into the cartel and tries to make nice, but none of them are having it. Jordan Lee, who strangely never gets a comeuppance, tells JR he's finished in Dallas. Usually those are famous last words. Pamela is angry at Bobby for failing to make plans in spite of his busy schedule. Of course, that's when sex vulture Alex Ward swoops in and invites her to lunch to talk about it. Speaking of illicit meetings to talk about spousal friction, Clint Ogden calls and makes a date with Sue Ellen. In an understated debut, Phyllis Wapner steps in for Bobby's secretary Connie, who is out with an illness. That must have been some illness too, because she never came back.
I will remember you.
Afton is there seeking connections to get started in her music career, and JR is only too eager to help. While JR checks Afton's high notes, Miss Ellie and Donna Culver ponder who the developers of the Takapa group are. Maybe they could be reasoned with. You know, even if they did know, I doubt they'd be any more reasonable. Talk then turns to how to deal with the Ewing men, and Donna says she admires Ellie for putting up with all of it. At cocktail hour, relations are frosty betwixt the men and women folk of Southfork. Ellie arrives late for dinner, Sue Ellen snarks about JR returning to his old ways, and Pamby are having their contractually mandated argument about which one of them works too much. Lest you think that Bobby has a lot of free time now that he's no longer running Ewing Oil, you'd be wrong.
You're so stupid!
His new solar-based startup is just getting off the ground, so he's busier than ever. But Pam has no idea what's going on because he won't share it with her. Afton wows Milton, the sleazy bar owner, in more ways than one, so she gets hired as the designate lounge singer. It doesn't go quite like she thought, though, as JR makes it clear she'll only be seeing him on his schedule. Leslie Stewart applies the full court press to Bobby, but he wants to keep everyone in the dark about his solar energy company. JR does meet her on the way out, though, and promises to keep her in mind if he ever needs more publicity. Over lunch, Clint admits to carrying a torch for Sue Ellen so bright that he delayed his own marriage, hoping JR and Sue Ellen would break up. He only got married after John Ross was born. In a funny moment, although probably not to her, Pam walks in with Alex Ward and is spotted by Sue Ellen. This causes a minor freakout in Pam, but both women are cheating on their husbands, so it's a bit of a mutually assured destruction there. I do like the smirk on Sue Ellen's face, though, as she finally gets to see the fraying edges of the perfect couple's marriage. Pamela doesn't get to be so smug about her happy marriage anymore. Of course, Alex has to be creepy about it by pressuring Pam to confront her feelings, which she explicitly tells him she doesn't want to do. Over at Punk Anderson's, the boys agree that they have to get a move on with Takapa, even though Miss Ellie and the Green Panthers are stirring up trouble. I know that's the joke, but Jock's ridiculously flippant dismissal of the Daughters of the Alamo makes their later victory all the more delicious.
Well, by the time those ladies finish sipping their tea and making sure their hats are on straight, we'll have her met.
I mean, Jock of all people should know better than to underestimate Ellie. Back at home, Pam takes out her Bobby frustrations on Sue Ellen and gets uncharacteristically cruel.
I know the difference between enjoying a drink and needing a drink. Do you?
Hey, how about you pour a nice snifter of shut the hell up, Pam? That woman came back from 2 devastating benders, and maybe this is one of the rare cases where she's on your side. So stuff a sock in it, sis. Sue Ellen shrugs it off and tries to talk some sense into Pam, but Pam proves me wrong by continuing to be smug about her marriage over Sue Ellen's.
I will never accept the fact that Bobby and JR are the same.
Sue Ellen finally just advises her to look out for herself since Bobby and JR are both married to the oil industry. Speaking of the lucky groom, Bobby comes in and asks Pam to make him a drink, allowing Pam one more moment of smugness. As I rack my brain trying to think back to the last time this season when Pam wasn't insufferable, I guess I should point out that Sue Ellen's little gambit here isn't altogether innocent either. If she convinces Pam to cheat on Bobby, it lets her off the hook. It's just something that Ewing women are forced to do by their husbands instead of a choice that she, and she alone, is making. At Ewing Oil, Ellroy shows up to deliver the bad news. Ellroy's fellow associates refuse to do business with JR. He's still got the stink of the Asian oil well betrayal seeping from his pores after all, and for the second time this episode, someone tells JR he's all washed up in Texas. Sue Ellen confirms my analysis by telling Dr. Elby that Pamela and she have the same disease.
Neurofibromatosis.
No, love for Ewing men. Elby, of course, isn't having it and tells her to tend to her own marriage or have her affair or whatever the hell she's gonna do. At Dave Culver's office, Dave tells Donna and Cliff the big news. He's being appointed interim senator for the state of Texas. Cliff is ecstatic, especially since it opens up a seat in the Texas State Senate. Donna is cool to the idea, but she plays coy. At lunch, Leslie Stewart bonds with JR over Octopus and tells him his tarnished reputation is just the kind of project she's into. JR is, of course, seeking something else besides good publicity. At the store, Alex pressures Pam to define their relationship, which, okay, is fair to the guy, but also, dude, she's at work. Stop hassling her on the clock. That's multi-time Employee of the Year Pamela Ewing.
I didn't feel like working, so I just drove around all day.
She's too valuable to the organization for you to be distracting her. Pam admits to being attracted to Alex, but also refuses to cheat on Bobby, so there's not much to discuss. Afton and Arliss show up on the Cooper's doorstep to announce that Afton has a singing gig. Lucy immediately knows what's up when she finds out JR pulled some strings to make it happen. Speaking of, JR is out of sorts because Sue Ellen replaced their mattress. And just after he and Afton had broken it in. Sue Ellen does that whole, I know and I want to let you know that I know without just coming out and saying that I know thing that she's so good at. At work, Leslie Stewart has already arranged for every major national outlet to interview JR, and with that kind of national renown, he won't have to depend on the local cartels. In a rare moment, it's JR who makes a prescient temptation of fate.
You're not gonna cross me. You wouldn't dare.
JR wants to seal the deal with his usual, but Leslie wants their relationship to be strictly business. Besides, she already has a boy toy in the guy from Robot Jocks. Jocks always get the girls. Although, I think he was the commissioner in that movie, and I never saw Paul Tagliabue getting any ass, so maybe this is a one-off. Anyway, she tells him this is blow-off sex because she needs to focus all her energies on JR Ewing. Meanwhile, as if JR hasn't dug his hole deep enough, he calls up Hank Johnson, his fixer in Southeast Asia, and offers to fund a right-wing revolution if it will get his oil back. Come on, man. It's like you want to be the third man ever indicted under the Logan Act of 1799. Leslie Stewart can't help you if you don't help yourself. Anyway, we're out. Thus begins the major arc that will carry the last 11 episodes of the season, with JR trying to navigate the harsh international waters of crypto diplomacy, and Leslie Stewart tackling the yeoman's task of keeping me awake while she's on screen. Sorry, I know that's mean. But after the catty sexpot shenanigans of Kristen Shepard and the homoerotic stylings of Alan, man of 1,000 chest hairs Beam,
Alan Beam.
Leslie Stewart just feels like a downgrade as JR's accomplices go. Everything else seems to have reset itself around JR to the point where we're back in season 3. Bobby and Pam are bickering again, Sue Ellen is making passive-aggressive remarks while planning another extramarital affair. And Jock and Miss Ellie are en route to a collision that only one of them sees coming but is too arrogant to stop it. End of the Road Part 2 was more than just an end and a new beginning to Lucy and Mitch's arc. It represented the end of the first half of the season and Bobby's first swing at running Ewing Oil. And with this episode and JR back at the helm, we have a lot more volatility on the horizon.